Hi guys, welcome to the channel. We share real Reddit stories from real people, with new videos dropping daily. So feel free to subscribe. Let's get into today's topic. Child support advice. A mom is trying to plan her next steps after a breakup, while still living under the same roof. And once child support comes up, things get tense fast. Here's what she shared. I'm going through it right now. My child's father and I broke up in November. We still live together right now. He sleeps on the couch, I have the bed. It's time to sign the new lease, and I had to fight with him to sign the new lease so I could rent here until I can get into income-based housing. He told me he's not going to move with us when we do, which is fine, but he also said he wouldn't be living with me for much longer. I cannot afford where we are at without his help with income. So I told him if he moved out, he was paying child support. He blew up on me and told me if I took him for support, he was taking my son away from me. Our son is special needs, not autistic, actually special needs like he cannot crawl, walk, or eat on his own and is deaf. He does not feed him, doesn't change his diapers, does not take care of him, and he wants to take him away from me because he doesn't want to pay support. What are the odds he will get our son if I have mandated reporters who can verify I have done all the work and care and appointments since day one? Okay, what do you think about this one? And what would you do in this Reddit user situation? From one angle, it sounds like she's trying to create stability for her child and simply stating the obvious. If he moves out, support has to be formalized. At the same time, his reaction reads like a threat meant to scam her out of filing, and that kind of "I'll take the kid" talk can be really intimidating, especially when she's already financially cornered. It also feels like documenting caregiving and getting proper legal advice sooner rather than later could really matter here. Alright, let's move into the next story. Mid-30s, no qualifications, future looks grim, want to try and get degree, what do? Someone in their mid-30s is looking at the future and feeling stuck, like they missed their window. They're trying to pick a path that's realistic, even if it's not their dream. Here's the post. I'm in my mid-30s with basically no qualifications. I've had a few chances to get some kind of training or education in my 20s, but I was severely depressed back then and couldn't care less about any of that. And I find the very realistic idea that all I will be able to hope for in the future is menial entry-level jobs quite depressing. I first thought about something in trades. Could be interesting and useful, but I have no one to learn from. And from what I've seen, they prefer hiring younger guys as assistants. I'm thinking about trying to get a university degree, just so I can open a few more doors, so to speak, and I don't know what to pick. Having had very few experiences in general, I only have a tenuous grasp on subjects like, what do I like? I'm somewhat talented at drawing, but likely not enough to ever be able to make a living out of it, particularly in the short term. This doesn't have anything to do with studying, it's just to illustrate one of the things I've actually tried. In my previous failed university course, I happened to study linguistics and phonology, and found it a fascinating subject. But the chances of making a living out of a linguistics degree seem pretty slim. I have a passion for writing, as in written characters, especially the history of their evolution, and have an eye for handwriting and fonts, but I wouldn't really know what to do with this. I'm good at writing, as in composing written texts, but it doesn't seem to be a very sought-after skill on its own, especially now that every other person outsources that stuff to AIs. Overall, I obviously have an orientation towards humanities, but it hardly looks like anything that can land me a job with a decent pay nowadays. So at this point, I feel like picking something almost exclusively out of future economic usefulness is probably fair. I might end up failing, but I think I'd rather try and fail than keep being in the position I am in right now. What would you recommend? Well, this feels like a tricky situation. What do you make of it for this Reddit user? You can see how they're trying to be practical, not romantic about it, because they've already lived the "I'll figure it out later" phase, and it didn't go well. At the same time, it also feels like they do have genuine interests: language, writing, typography, and sometimes those can be paired with something employable, like communications, technical writing, user experience writing, or even teaching paths, depending on where they live. The fear of being too late is real, but the bigger issue might be picking something sustainable enough to finish, not just something that looks good on paper. Alright, let's move into the next story. My friend is being treated like a servant by her own family. What can she do? A college student is watching their friend get run down at home by relatives who act kind in public, but cruel in private. They want to help, but they're not sure what realistic options exist. Here's what they wrote. Hey everyone, I really need advice for my friend. She has been suffering in her own family since childhood, and now that she's in college, things are getting worse. Her mom passed away when she was young. Since then, she and her little sister have been raised by her mom's side of the family. Her father was sent away by them because they said they would take care of the children. But the reality is different. They act nice on the outside, but at home they make her do housework all day. Even after exhausting college days, she has to take care of her grandmother, change her diapers, and handle most responsibilities alone. Her younger sister has been influenced by the family and now dislikes her and refuses to help. Tonight she called me crying. After a long day at college, her uncle forced her to keep working non-stop and even threatened her. Another uncle doesn't trust or support her either. She ended up walking alone at night because she was so overwhelmed. There's much more, but this is the situation in short. I want to help her, but I'm just a student myself. She wants to become independent, but doesn't know how to start. What can she do right now to support herself and get out of this situation? So, what do you think about this Reddit user's situation with their friend? On one hand, it sounds like the friend is being used as unpaid labor and caretaker, and it's escalating into threats, which is scary. At the same time, the hard part is that getting out usually takes resources, money, housing, documents, somewhere safe to go, and a plan that doesn't tip off the family too early. Another way to look at it is that college might actually be her lifeline here, because schools often have student support services, emergency funds, housing resources, or someone she can confidentially talk to about safety and options. Alright, let's move into the next story. I am 26 and going to return to college. How do I choose a major and stick with it? A 26-year-old wants to go back to school but feels behind and overwhelmed, especially by math. They're torn between what they'd like to do and what they're afraid they can't handle. Here's their post. I'm very delayed, but I'm just not sure how to choose a major and just stick with it. I'd like to get into education, so perhaps an English degree or a foreign language degree, but those are both useless in America. Maybe just an associate's in medical imaging, but I'm worried I would just fail all the math and sciences. I effectively dropped out in 7th grade, but joined corporate America at 18 with a GED. The math will always dominate me. I wish I could become a registered nurse. Okay, what do you think about this one for the Reddit user? From one angle, the fear makes sense. If someone's had a rough history with school, math can feel like this permanent wall. At the same time, it also feels like they're underestimating how much support exists now. Tutoring centers, remedial courses, study groups, and the fact that adults often learn differently than kids. There's also the possibility that they don't need the perfect major right away. Sometimes the first win is just getting momentum with a manageable course load and seeing what clicks. Household chores. A couple has been living together, both dealing with mental health and attention issues, and their chores routine is falling apart. The poster feels overwhelmed and doesn't know how to bring it up without sounding like they're nagging. Here's what they said. Me, 20th, and my boyfriend, 25 man, have been living together for like 1.5 years, maybe more. I've been on long-term 5+ years sick leave due to mental health issues, so I don't work. I do, however, go to school once a week on Mondays since about 6 months ago. He works 7 o'clock to 16 o'clock Monday to Friday. I'm currently struggling with agoraphobia and social anxiety, so he takes out the trash and does the dishes. I do everything else, including cooking, our laundry, cleaning, and whatnot. We go shopping for groceries together when we need them, and I'm able to help with rent and groceries with my income from school. When we moved in together, he was really good with taking the dishes. He did it every day when he came home from work and then played video games after dinner. I also play video games, so that doesn't bother me. I do the same. The last few months he hasn't been taking the dishes or the trash, and it's overflowing in the kitchen, and I've said to him that if he wants me to help, I want him to ask for it, because with my depression and ADHD brain, I can't collect enough energy to help him out if he doesn't ask for it. He said it's fine every time, but the kitchen is still overflowing, and I don't want to bug him about it, because I understand that he's tired after work. I just don't know how to move forward, because I can barely keep up with the chores I have, even though I'm home most of the days. Am I being too demanding? Should I just suck it up and do it for him? We live together in this household, and I just feel like nothing's getting done from his end. He also has ADHD. It's hard for us both to do things that's not in our routine. I've tried to make weekly schedules, but that didn't work either. I hope it's enough backstory to answer my questions. Am I too demanding on him and should just do his chores to accept the trash? If not, how can I help him without being an annoying bitch that nags about it every day? Can I help him make it easier? Any advice is really appreciated. Edit. I'm in therapy for my agoraphobia and social anxiety, and it's getting better every day, but I've crashed before, and I don't want to start over again. Edit 2. I don't know if it was clear enough, but I want to be able to help him more than anything in the world. It's not that I don't want to. I've been depressed for years. I'm exhausted every day, and the days I have energy, I usually use on showering, brushing my teeth, and doing my own chores. If I had energy for everything, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Alright, what do you make of this Reddit user's situation? You can see how both of them are operating on limited energy, and when routines slip, everything snowballs fast, especially with dishes and trash. At the same time, it also feels like, if you want help, ask, can accidentally turn into no one owning the task, because the dishes still need doing, whether or not someone asks. Another way to look at it is that they might need a different system entirely, like shrinking the task, changing tools, or resetting expectations, because the current split isn't functioning anymore, and resentment is creeping in. Alright, let's move into the next story. My sis saw my videos with my BF. An 18-year-old is panicking after their younger sister accessed something private on their laptop. Now it's turned into shaming and cruel insults. and they feel like they can't handle the night. Here's what they wrote. I'm 18F, and my younger sis, 14F, has seen my videos with my boyfriend. It was a normal video. We weren't doing anything explicit. She gained access to it through my laptop. I'm shaking as I write this post. I have no idea what to do. She is calling me names like whore and prostitute. She is saying that I deserve to die. She has had multiple boyfriends, and somehow she got caught at home each time. So now she's shaming me, saying that I don't deserve to live because I fake being a dignified person in front of my parents and that I have broken their trust. I'm genuinely broken. I don't know what to do. I want to end this. I don't think this night will pass. Okay, what do you think about this one? And what should happen next for the Reddit user? From one angle, the sister's reaction sounds extreme and cruel, and it's hard not to think there's jealousy, projection, or just a teenager lashing out to hurt where it counts. At the same time, it also feels like the poster is in crisis right now, and the most important thing is immediate safety and having an adult looped in, because I want to end this is a really serious line. Another way to look at it is that the privacy violation matters too. Whatever the sister saw, it doesn't justify harassment or threats. Alright, let's move into the next story. How do you get over heartbreak? A 23-year-old is dealing with their first real heartbreak, and it's hitting hard. They're still seeing the person in a temporary way, and it's making it even more confusing. Here's their story. I'm 23F and just got out of my first relationship, and now I'm experiencing what it feels like to have heartbreak for the first time. I am so depressed and can't stop crying and hating myself. He brought so much happiness to my life and made me feel so alive and special. Now I feel empty, unworthy, and unlovable. It was due to practical reasons, and we are still temporarily seeing each other as a friends with benefits dynamic while I'm in the country, long-distance relationship. But it hurts. I wanted a future with him. When I leave the country, I know I will never see him again, despite how much we both love each other and want to be together. Everything here is a painful reminder of what we had. I really thought I'd found the one. I feel like I'm never going to find him now. I feel like I'm running out of time. I want a child and a family, but feel like I'll never get it. How do you get over this pain? I have no interest in anything at the moment. I feel ashamed about it ending, so I don't want to talk with my friends or family about it. I want to heal on my own. Well, this Reddit user situation is rough. What do you make of it? You can see how the friends with benefits while it's ending setup can keep reopening the wound because there's comfort and closeness, but no future attached. At the same time, it also feels like she's putting a lot of pressure on herself with the timeline panic. Like one relationship ending equals the whole dream ending, which isn't really fair to her. Another way to look at it is that talking to someone, even one trusted friend, could be part of healing, not a sign of weakness or failure. Alright, let's move into the next story. My dog died. Someone just lost a dog they had for 13 years, and they don't know how to grieve. On top of that, their other dog is searching and crying, and it's making everything worse. Here's what they wrote. My dog of 13 years has been put down on the 25th because of her stomach and brain cancer that has spread too much, and I have no idea how to grieve about it. My other dog has been crying trying to look for her sister, and it really makes me sad because I know she won't find her. Alright, what do you think about this Reddit user situation? On one hand, losing a pet after that many years is like losing a family member, and grief can feel confusing because people expect it to be just a dog, even though it isn't. At the same time, it also feels like the other dog's behavior is adding this extra layer, like the loss keeps replaying in real time. Another way to look at it is that routines and comfort objects can help both of them adjust, even if nothing makes it feel fixed right away. Alright, let's move into the next story. How to deal with gained weight. Someone gained a lot of weight quickly from antidepressants, and now they're struggling with intense self-hatred. They're not asking how to lose it, they're asking how to live with themselves now. Here's what they said. I had been skinny my whole life, but never realized it and thought I was fat, until around 17-18, when I got diagnosed with depression and started on antidepressants. They made me gain 30 kilograms in 2 months. I haven't been able to get rid of the weight since, and don't think I will be mentally ready for a diet in a really long time. So my question is, how do I learn to accept myself now? I didn't back then, and it's even harder now. I feel sick due to how much hatred I hold for myself for gaining weight, even though it wasn't even my fault, and those meds literally saved my life. I am embarrassed to show up anywhere people from my past might see me. I can't post myself online, and I can't accept my partner's love. It's a kind of self-hate I haven't felt before, and I don't know what to do. Please don't suggest losing weight. Okay, what do you make of this Reddit user's situation? From one angle, it's heartbreaking, because they can intellectually understand it wasn't my fault, and this saved my life. But emotionally, they're still stuck in shame and fear of being seen. At the same time, it also feels like the self-hatred started before the weight gain, back when they were skinny and still thought they were fat. So the issue might be deeper than just the number on the scale. Another way to look at it is that learning to accept love from a partner and easing back into public life could be small steps towards self-acceptance without making it about changing their body. All right, let's move into the next story. I'm worried about my relationship. A 20-year-old is worried their partner's stress and depression is turning into irritation and anger toward them. They're questioning themselves and wondering if they're asking for too much. Here's what they wrote. I, F20, and my partner M23 have been in a relationship for about 2 years now in February. We bought a house together and have lived in it for about 7 months now. Recently, he's been dealing with a lot of stress from work and admitted he's been a little depressed recently. He makes the majority of the money since he has a lot better of a job than me. I still have a job, but the amount I make in a month, he makes in a week, but he takes care of most of our expenses at the moment. We haven't been having sex for a while, and I don't like to initiate things, but I wouldn't mind if we did things. I'm just not the biggest fan of sex. But I feel like anytime we won't have sex, he starts getting angry at me for everything and is very agitated at everything I say or do. Recently, he's been having so much attitude with me. One minute I feel like he can't stand me, and the next everything seems normal. He gets annoyed with me for little things. For example, yesterday, I asked if he could grab me a shampoo and conditioner after work. They're $1.25, and he gave me a lot of attitude and size, and just like he was mad at me. I guess what I'm asking is, am I too much and not giving enough? And what can I do to make him happy? Is it the money, the sex, or his own personal problems? I'm thinking that I just don't ask for anything ever again and send him half of my money and just live on the bare minimum. I love him a lot, and I know he loves me. I know it could be him taking out his frustrations on me, but I just don't know how to see it since I don't have a fresh pair of eyes on the situation. He isn't the best with communication because of how he grew up, so I'll never know if I'm doing something that upsets him since he won't tell me. I know it sounds bad, but other than this, he's the perfect boyfriend. I just don't want to lose him and want to know how I can help him feel better. Alright, this Reddit user's situation is complicated. What do you make of it? You can see how financial pressure and depression could make someone more irritable, and maybe he's not coping well and it's spilling over. At the same time, it also feels like she's starting to shrink herself to avoid setting him off. Like, I'll never ask for anything again, and that's a rough dynamic to slide into. Another way to look at it is that sex and money might be factors, but the bigger issue is how he handles disappointment and stress, because snapping and punishing someone with attitude isn't fair, even if he's struggling. How do I get myself out of this slump? An international student who usually does well is suddenly skipping class, exhausted, detached, and struggling with basic self-care. They're scared it could affect their visa, but they feel stuck in a spiral. Here's what they posted. I, 18F, am an undergraduate first-year student. For context, I am studying overseas and I'm usually a student who achieves good grades and studies hard. It's even something I took pride in. For the past 2 semesters, I've been finding it really hard to assimilate into student life. I don't feel like attending lectures or tutorials at all, and I've been skipping them a lot. Knowing that I am an international student, I know that my visa could get canceled if I keep this up. I haven't missed enough classes that they've reached out to me, but I feel that they will soon. I just feel so much dread and fatigue overwhelm me when I try to get myself up and go. Like, I weigh a ton all of a sudden. I've even missed 2 shifts of my leadership role, and I feel horrible. They chose me for the job, and here I am just sleeping in and being lazy. Before anyone tries to suggest putting myself out there, I've already tried. Several times I've forced myself out of the house to hang out with friends, but I don't feel present when I'm with them, just detached and like I want to run straight back to my room. I feel drained to the point that I ignored their text deliberately and only respond when it's bordering on rude. I've tried stuffing my schedule with so many clubs, activities, societies, but all it did was lead me to push aside my feelings until they reached a breaking point. Usually, this would lead to a very destructive mental breakdown, which I've had 2 or 3 times already. So I decided to break this toxic cycle. I mean, if I'm just going to crash and burn, what's the point of trying? The truth is, I can't even motivate myself to do basic tasks anymore. My sleep schedule is very irregular, even though I try to sleep at regular times. It's very challenging to even get out of bed. I just want to lie there and do nothing the whole day. It's a bit embarrassing to admit this next part, but Reddit is anonymous, so feel free to judge if you'd like. I've noticed that my personal hygiene has been lapsing. I am usually a very clean and meticulous person, so this is very out of character for me. Several times, I can't even bring myself to brush my teeth or shower. I don't mean to, but sometimes I go a few days without doing either. I wear the same clothes and just lay in my bed. As if this wasn't enough, I'm also very homesick. I call my family every day without fail, but they are busy, so the call can only usually last around 30 minutes. Immediately after the call ends, I just feel so much emptiness and dread. My best friend, who I call almost every day, asked me if she was holding me back from making friends by calling me so often. Little does she know, it's the opposite. Calling her, besides calling my family, is the only way I feel sane. My life feels like a blur now. I scroll on social media because it distracts me from the fatigue. I'm not bothered to cook for myself, so I order in most of the time, even though it's expensive. I just feel so demotivated and lost. I don't know what to do. How can I motivate myself? How can I get out of this slump? Sorry for the rant. I haven't said these words to anyone before. I don't want to worry my family or friends. Okay, what do you think about this Reddit user situation? From one angle, it sounds like they're blaming themselves as lazy, but the symptoms they described feel way heavier than laziness. Like something is genuinely wrong with their energy, mood, and functioning. At the same time, it also feels like the visa pressure makes everything scarier because there's a consequence hanging over them while they're already struggling. Another way to look at it is that getting support through student services could be crucial here, because waiting until attendance becomes a formal issue might make it harder to recover. Alright, let's move into the next story. Moving across the ocean for my boyfriend, but he won't talk about engagement. What am I missing? A woman is preparing to move countries to be with her long-term boyfriend, but she feels uneasy because he won't discuss engagement details. She loves him, but she's struggling with the uncertainty while giving up a lot. Here's what she wrote. Okay, I need some help. Long-time lurker, but this is my first actual post. My boyfriend, 29M, and I, 28F, have been together since high school. We've been more or less long distance for most of it. He lives in the US, and I'm in Europe. We overlapped for a year or so on and off in the US when I went to study there for a year abroad, right before COVID. We stayed with our respective families for a few months before moving in together for 2 to 3 months. I'm now working back in Europe and planning to move to the US to do a master's. I have US citizenship because my parents were working in the US when I was born. I'm just giving as much context as possible so my question makes sense. We've been talking about getting engaged for maybe a few months, and it'll most probably happen after I move to the US. Both families have been pushing for it, which admittedly doesn't help, although my family has had more conversations with me about it than his. But his dad did tell my mom recently that he doesn't understand why boyfriend hasn't proposed yet, which my mom then made my problem because she kept saying I should talk to him about it, etc. The thing is, timing-wise, we've always been on the same page. But I think because people have non-stop been making it my problem, that I should bring it up to him, that I should give him a deadline, which I would never, because what the heck, that I should make it very clear, etc. I've tried to broach the subject, but he's so not receptive to it. And I think the reason I bring it up isn't because I don't think we'll end up together, but because of my family talking about it non-stop, plus horror stories I've seen online. The thing is, I'm giving up my job, my apartment, living closer to my family and my friends to move in with him. So my perspective is that it's not unfair for me to ask more details about when we're going to get engaged and married. And, just let me give all the context, I feel shut out from the entire process. When I mentioned, what if I don't like the ring, he was like, this is not what you should focus on. You should focus on us living together, etc. My issue with that is I've never been superficial. I've always said I care much more about my marriage than the wedding ceremony and living with him and having a beautiful life together. To be honest, my preference would be to get married at the courthouse, just the two of us. But I also want to love my ring, which I hope to wear every day and one day pass on to our kids. And to be honest, in terms of track record, he doesn't have the best one when it comes to gifts, which has been solved now because I just pick what I want and we're both super happy. But he made it clear that he doesn't want to talk about it, and that the ring and proposal are his thing to think about and figure out, and that looking back, I'll be happy with the timing of it all, and that I should just trust him, because he wants it to be a surprise. I've also brought it up multiple times, and I know he's so tired of it and wants me to move on. He also works a very stressful job, so it doesn't help that this is very much on my mind and a lot of what I want to talk about, but also I meant to move in 3 months. But because I'm leaving everything for him, it's very hard to just trust him. So I think my question is, and this is why I'm asking, what is it from his side that I don't understand? And how can I move past this? Because I adore him, and he's my best friend, and I know I'll have the most amazing life with him, hopefully. But getting over this and the lack of certainty is so hard. I didn't go too deep into our relationship because I don't want to give too much insight on who I am, so please just take my word for it that he's an amazing person. Edit. Trying to respond to everyone, but comments keep showing up, and I am a bit overwhelmed with all the support. So first and foremost, just thank you for giving me your raw and unfiltered opinions. Okay, to tackle a few things I've seen. We were always on the same page that we would get engaged after moving in together, but I think just the fact that he really doesn't want to talk about it and give me an idea of when we'll get engaged freaks me out a lot, given that I'm giving a lot up, and he wants to keep it all a surprise and probably, which I had not realized before, wants to wait until we live together to act on it. That is, buy the ring and plan when he wants to propose. I am moving to the US to do a master's because in my field, I would not be able to work in the US without that additional credibility. Please just take my word for it, I know what I'm talking about. He is the sweetest, most encouraging man I know, and he's always said that if moving to the US doesn't make sense for my career, then we would figure something else out. However, I am at the point in my life where I want to be with him and live with him, and a master's in the US would be a plus if I ever come back to Europe. For context, We're both of Armenian descent, so when I said we'll have a good life hopefully, it's me trying to keep the evil eye away. Alright, what do you think about this Reddit user's situation? From one angle, it makes total sense she wants clarity, she's making a massive life move and doesn't want to feel like she's stepping into a maybe. At the same time, it also feels like he wants control over the surprise element, and maybe he's interpreting her questions as pressure, rather than as reassurance needs. Another way to look at it is that engagement details don't have to spoil the proposal. There's a difference between agreeing on a general timeline and style versus dictating a script. Parents pressuring me into marriage since age 20, arranging meetings secretly. I'm panicking and need advice. A young woman feels trapped by family pressure and secretive marriage meetings. She's trying to focus on her career and also has a relationship her parents don't support. Here's what she wrote. Note, I'm already under extreme mental and emotional pressure. I'm posting here to seek constructive advice and practical suggestions. Please avoid harsh judgments or negative comments. I genuinely need help and clarity right now. I'm a 23-year-old woman from India, turning 24 in a few days. There is a 30 to 35-year age gap between my parents and me, and they come from a very traditional mindset. My parents have been looking for marriage proposals for me since I was 21. At that time, I clearly told them I was too young and not ready. Still, they kept saying things like you're already 25 and continued searching. For the past 3 years, my father regularly calls relatives every Saturday and Sunday to look for boys. On 26 January, my father received a call from a distant relative asking us to bring him from a nearby city next Saturday. From what I overheard, nothing was clearly told to me. This relative works as a marriage broker. Along with him, the man whose son the proposal is about, and possibly the son himself, will be coming to our house this Saturday. All of this is happening without my consent or proper communication. I even overheard my mother saying to my father there's no need to bring them to home, and that this is how it happens, they will come. This secrecy makes me feel trapped and anxious. I'm currently pursuing a professional course. For some time now, I've been stuck in a loop of attempts. It's not that I'm not working hard, I am, but results haven't come yet. Despite this, I want to continue and build my career. I don't want to look at myself in the future with regret or guilt. I want to feel proud that I achieved something in my life. I also want to be honest. I've been in a relationship for almost 3 years. We know each other well, love and support each other, especially in studies. We only talk about 15 to 20 minutes a day. He is doing 2 professional courses in parallel. He even joined one course partly to support me and passed it. I didn't pass yet, but I'm proud of him and confident I will clear mine too. We are not wasting time chatting all day. We are serious and focused. My parents have known about him for nearly 2 years. My father has even met him once. When I told my parents that I like him, they emotionally blackmailed me, crying, listing sacrifices, and mentally pressuring me. At one point I said, okay, I'll do whatever you say, but deep down, I knew I could never accept it. They often say things like, Kanyadan is a great religious duty. Forget him and live happily here. You haven't achieved anything till now, and you won't achieve anything in the future. What will society say? The government allows marriage at 18-21. Are you special? I'm not against marriage. I just don't want to be forced into it before I'm emotionally and professionally ready. This Saturday's meeting is making my heart race constantly. I feel panic, fear, anger, and resentment because I do not want to get married right now. How do I handle parents who secretly arrange such meetings? How do I set boundaries when emotional blackmail and societal pressure are used? Has anyone been through something similar in an Indian or conservative family? Okay, what do you make of this Reddit user situation? You can see how overwhelming this is when it's not just a conversation. It's relatives showing up at the house, like it's already decided. At the same time, it also feels like she's trying to balance respecting family culture with protecting her own life and timeline, and her parents are using guilt and fear to push compliance. Another way to look at it is that setting boundaries might require allies, someone in the family who's more reasonable, or practical steps toward independence. Because trying to fight emotional blackmail alone can be exhausting. Alright, let's move into the next story. How do I deal with sex shame? A young adult has deep shame around anything sexual, even though they aren't religious and don't come from a strict family. They're wondering if they should talk to their therapist and whether buying a sex toy would help them quit porn. Here's what they shared. I want to start this off by saying that I am not, nor has ever been religious, nor do I have any bad experience or history with someone that is. This has nothing to do with religions. I am a young adult, and since my early teen years, I have perceived sex lives as something scandalous and shameful, something to be hidden away and let no one see. I have not been sexually abused whilst growing up, but I did have unrestricted internet access. I have not been groomed, but I've engaged in very explicit conversations when I was a young teen with others of similar age range. My parents, of course, found out about this and scolded me. I deserve that. I suspect that I was so embarrassed by what happened in the past, it slowly developed into sex shame. I wouldn't start exploring sexually until much later in life. Whenever I do, I make sure to be extremely secretive so that none of my behaviors could be traced back to me, but I would always have a lingering, dreadful fear of being found out. I kind of feel like some criminal or spy, always worrying about if someone would catch on to my secret. Eventually, this snowballed into somewhat of a porn addiction, as well as some bad habits that formed from said addiction. I have a feeling that I would not only continue these bad habits if I don't fix this issue, but also do something even worse. Recently, I had the idea of secretly getting myself a sex toy. In truth, I do think this would help with my addiction and overall sex health, because I wouldn't need to rely on additional stimulation to get aroused. But having a physical object means there's solid proof of my sexual activity, which is what makes me hesitant. It's been a few days since I got the idea, and it's been haunting me. I kept obsessing and thinking back on it once a few hours. My family is not at all judgmental or strict, and are actually in fact the opposite. My older brother is, although private, not at all secretive about his sex life if asked. Pretty sure I found condoms in his room once. Most of my friends are the same. They're not super open about their sex lives, but won't be defensive or secretive when asked. I also want to mention that I used to be sex repulsed. Only in the recent years I've learned to realize that sex is normal and just a part of life. Still, I don't like hearing about people's sex lives. I am a very visual person, but I wouldn't judge anyone for it. I've never been openly sexual or horny. Only jokingly. Even then I don't do it too much. So I fear how people would think if they find out this secret side of me. I know that my sex life is honestly no one's business. I came across someone comparing sexual activity to taking a dump. Both are activities that require personal time and privacy that we just sometimes have to do. The comparison did open my eyes a little, but it wasn't enough to just immediately shoo away a deep-rooted shame fear. I'm aware enough to know that my fears are quite irrational, and honestly, the worst that could happen to me is just getting teased a bit by my friends. Almost everyone masturbates, and my school has even gave us a sex ed lesson on it. The rational part of me knows that masturbation isn't a crime or something taboo, just something private. But somehow my brain only applies that logic to everyone but myself. I do have a therapist who I can discuss this issue with, but I'm unsure if I should bring it up, as my sex life is something no one knows about, and something I've never ever talked about to anyone before. I know it's a long post. I wanted to give as much of a detailed context as possible. So, how should I approach this? Should I go ahead and get a sex toy as an attempt to quit porn? Or should I try to bring this to my therapist? Anything is appreciated. I'd love to have as much insights as possible. Stories of similar experiences would be very helpful. Edit. Thanks for the responses. They're all greatly appreciated. After seeing the comments, I now feel more confident to talk to my therapist about this, and will try my best to work towards that. Alright. This feels like a tricky situation. What do you make of it for the Reddit user? On one hand, they're self-aware enough to recognize the fear is irrational, which is huge. But the emotional brain isn't catching up. At the same time, it also feels like the secrecy itself is feeding the shame. Like the more hidden it is, the more criminal it feels, even though it's normal. Another way to look at it is that therapy is literally the place for this, because the goal isn't to expose them, it's to help them untangle why their brain treats them differently than everyone else. Alright, let's move into the next story. Neighbor, who is the village gossip, saw me and waved whilst I was stood at the window at 8 a.m. drinking apple juice out of a wine glass. Someone is convinced their neighbor, who loves to gossip, just saw something that will spark a ridiculous rumor. It's a small moment, but the anxiety is real. Here's what they posted. It was just a clean glass on side of sink. Poured apple juice into it, stood at window, neighbor saw me who is a notorious gossip. Worried I will now be known as the village alcoholic. What to do? Okay, what do you think about this Reddit user situation? From one angle, it's kind of funny because it's so innocent. Apple juice in a wine glass. And yet it can absolutely turn into, did you see them drinking at 8 a.m. in the wrong person's mouth? At the same time, it also feels like this is really about social anxiety and reputation in a small community where gossip can snowball fast. Another way to look at it is that if anyone says something, a simple "it was apple juice" might be enough. And if it's not, then that says more about the gossip than the person at the window. I discovered emotionally intimate messages between my partner and another woman after months of denial, and I still can't move on. Someone found emotionally intimate messages between their partner and another woman after months of feeling like something was off. The partner says it wasn't cheating, but the secrecy and deleted messages broke trust, and the poster can't stop looping in pain. Here's what they wrote. My partner and I have been together for 3 years and have been planning a future together. Overall, our relationship has been loving, stable, and genuinely good. He is usually a very polite, kind, responsible, and emotionally gentle person, which is part of why this situation has confused and hurt me so deeply. The issue started between January and May 2025 with another woman, and the emotional closeness was mutual. At the time, I had no idea what was happening. I was dealing with a major loss in my family and was emotionally overwhelmed, just trying to survive day by day while this situation was unfolding without my knowledge. He did not hide this woman's existence from me, but he completely hid the level of emotional intimacy between them. She was his lawyer, and according to him, part of his attachment to her came from the fact that she was representing him for free while he was struggling financially. He says he felt dependent on her because of his financial situation and believed distancing himself would have been ungrateful. In May, when he had to travel for a court case, this woman called him and told him not to eat before coming because she would cook for him. That sentence immediately made me uncomfortable, and I told him so, Despite this, he went and stayed there for 2 days. He claims they were never alone and that other people were always present, and he describes her as a very kind and generous person who behaves this way with everyone. When he returned, we had a serious argument. At that time, he defended her strongly, saying she was a good person and that I was judging her unfairly. I told him that she knew about my existence and didn't seem to care, that their relationship was not professional, and that it was not her role to provide food, accommodation, and emotional support. To me, those behaviors crossed boundaries that belong in a romantic relationship. He insisted he hadn't done anything wrong, but said he understood why I was hurt and promised to be more careful. 2 weeks later, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. For the first time in my life, I checked a partner's phone while he was asleep. There were no WhatsApp messages with her, even though I had previously seen notifications, which meant they had been deleted. I then checked Instagram DMs and found emotionally intimate messages. Nothing sexual, but affectionate language. Compliments like, "You're very valuable to me," and "Being with you makes me feel valuable too." Until that moment, he had acted as if nothing inappropriate had happened, and as if I had exaggerated everything. And that realization caused a deep sense of betrayal. Also, he sent her flowers. In the note attached to the flowers, he praised both her work as his lawyer and her character, and ended the message with something along the lines of, "I'm glad you exist, I'm glad it's you." I did not learn this from him. He has never told me. I found out on my own because his email account was still open on my device. We had an explosive fight and were close to breaking up. I had intense crying spells, anger, and emotional breakdowns. He tried to calm me down. I didn't leave, partly because I love him deeply, and partly because I have an anxious attachment style. The next day, we were crying in each other's arms and decided to try to fix things. He says he never considered this cheating and that he couldn't see her as having bad intentions, especially because she had helped him financially. When I asked why he deleted the messages, he admitted it was wrong, apologized, cried, and said he understood why I felt betrayed. Since then, he says he has set clear boundaries with her and is now distant and transparent. However, this woman still exists in our lives. We have a joint Instagram account for work, and they still follow each other there. Any notification from her is triggering for me. Just last week, she referred a client to him. Knowing that she is aware of my discomfort and still maintaining this type of contact makes my anger toward her grow, even though I know my primary responsibility and boundary setting should be with my partner. I can't move on from the pain. I'm not asking whether his behavior has improved. I'm asking how I should understand this situation internally. My mind keeps looping in pain, and I no longer trust my own judgment. I need an outside perspective on how to see this clearly and what the right choice is for me. Not just for the relationship, but for my own emotional well-being. Alright, what do you think about this Reddit user situation? From one angle, it's understandable she's stuck in a loop, because the betrayal wasn't just the messages, it was the denial, the deletion, and finding out details on her own. At the same time, it also feels like he may have genuinely rationalized it as gratitude and dependence, especially if he was stressed and struggling financially. But that doesn't erase the emotional intimacy or secrecy. Another way to look at it is that as long as the other woman remains connected through work, the relationship needs unusually clear boundaries and transparency, or it's going to keep reopening the wound. Thanks for watching, and if you want more real Reddit stories like these, feel free to subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially what you'd do in each Reddit user situation.